one of us have.
Thankfully.
Yeah, right. It is unimaginable. But, to your point about Braden Point, yeah, it does look like it did him some good. 2 goals last night. Unbelievable. And you were saying earlier, like, you weren't surprised. You actually told Sam, like, you were going to bet. You didn't make the bet, but you were going to bet on Braden Point having a goal last night. And, I talked yesterday about I don't think we can have too high of expectations. I think they're going to work him back in. Well, they worked him back in pretty easily. And 2 goals, not necessarily what I expected right out of the gate, but awesome to see because this is a guy that is a big part of this hockey team, even though they've played so well without him.
And he had his first game since January 12th. Picks up 2 goals and an assist. He's ready to go. The Lightning are 15-1-1 since returning from the holiday break. That is the best in the NHL. 21-1 over the last 22 games, 6 straight wins. They are red hot, and to see them come back and continue that, hopefully continue that tonight, that's really tough. You come back from a 3-week break. For guys like Gensel, you came right back over here from Milan. You go right into action, and now you got a back-to-back.
It's funny. I love this stat from our guy Sam Cohen. Because it took me a second. I had to stop for a quick second and then go, oh, yeah. The Bolts have now won 10 straight games at Benchmark International and 11 consecutive games at home. Of course, that 11th game being at Raymond James Stadium for the Classic. That was pretty outstanding. But, yeah, when I first read that, I was like, wait, how does that make sense? And then I was like, oh, yeah.
Kucherov's absolutely making a run for the Hart because you think about what he's been able to do. He's got 3-point streaks of at least 10 games this season.
Is that good?
That's incredible.
That's good, right?
His 11-game streak is currently the longest active in the NHL right now. He is one of the best in the game, all around best in the game. He's so creative. He's a magician, and he makes the guys around him better. We talked about that line, how lethal it is. He makes the guys around him better.
How much better does he have to be to get the votes, though? That's the question, right? Like, he's 4 points behind. If you're just looking at points, and I don't think that's fair to do, but if you're just looking at points, he's 4 points behind Connor McDavid. And I just look at that right there, and I think, how many guys are going to vote for Connor McDavid instead of Nikita Kucherov just because Kuch besmirched an all-star game that one time? Like, I think it's absurd, but I also, and we mentioned this yesterday, we've spoken to Greg Wyshynski about this, and he feels the same way. Like, he's never going to get the votes he deserves, and it's for such a dumb reason.
It is a dumb reason, but I Pat, am kind of happy. I felt bad for Braden Point, but it did us all good that Russia wasn't allowed to compete in the Olympics. Like, you saw, 2 of the freshest guys on the ice last night were Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. And I think a big reason is that they didn't have to have grueling work for 3 weeks. Ryan McDonough, he talked yesterday. Sam Cohen was over at Morning Skate and talked with McDonough, talked with Jake Gensel. You had a little one-on-one time with McDonough, right?
Yeah, it was nice. I pulled the old sneak away. Everyone was talking to Cherney about his experience over there at the Olympics. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, everyone's kind of crowded here. When I was in journalism school, my professor always told me, he's like, don't go where the gaggle is. Like, sometimes you have to if it's the quarterback.
You're not a gaggle guy.
Sometimes I tend to think, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. Sometimes I find people ask really dumb questions.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's everywhere.
It bugs me because you know that these guys, especially in the open locker room setting, they don't have to be giving you your time, and so to waste it by asking stupid questions, or if I know that there's, I don't want to say it in like a narrative because then people will be like, oh, the media, they always have a narrative. But if I know that there's something I want to talk about, and I saw McDonough was over there, so I kind of just waddled away. He was talking to Darren Pang, who I got to introduce myself to, which was awesome yesterday. And I wanted to talk to him about, him being back. He hadn't played. And to your point quickly, too, Pat, about Kucherov in the Hart race, he's only got 4 less points than McDavid, but let's not forget he's played 7 less games as well. So, maybe that's a difference. But, talking to McDonough was awesome. I told my dad yesterday when I was talking to him on the phone about it, McDonough's one of the nicest athletes I think I've ever interviewed. Like, he did not have to talk to me. He didn't break eye contact the entire time. Just genuinely a great guy, and he had some awesome stuff to say.
He talked about his the time off.
For myself personally, missed a lot of games with injury and played only 4 before this break started. And you might ask yourself, well, what do you really need the break? And yeah, you want to get back playing and feeling good, but these opportunities to rest, recharge, obviously get away from the game, spend some time with your family and your kids, make memories there. That means a lot to you. Fills up your emotional bank and whatnot. For obviously a lot of hockey here down the stretch. So. For us as a team, it helps guys get healthy. It helps guys work on their game even more. and obviously it gives guys the opportunity to go represent their country if they're playing in that and gain confidence there. So all in all, it's never a bad thing, and our group's going to be focused and excited to get going again.
Pat, I think that's universal. McDonough's speaking about himself for the majority of that, but I think that's a universal thought, and that's kind of what I was saying about Point and Kucherov. Sucks for Point that he couldn't play for Team Canada and compete. I know he wanted to. I know Kucherov, I'm sure, wanted to compete in the Olympics, but to be able to get that rest, that valued rest for 3 weeks for this run for a team that is going to be competing for a Stanley Cup, huge.
And you can hear it from every guy. They keep talking about the stretch run. Like, they are preparing for this, and they are prepared for this. And, man, I've gotten more and more confident in this team. You remember the beginning of the season, I said, I'm hopeful they're going to be a little more physical. I'm hopeful they're going to be a little more scrappy, and they're going to be a little bit more prepared to be competitive in the playoffs. And, boy, have they far outshot those hopes, because they look like a team that can not just be competitive in the playoffs, but be fantastic in the playoffs. Ryan McDonough, by the way, last year, one of my favorite stories, because I drove Aaron crazy with it. I was at I can't remember what the hockey rink in Wesley Chapel, and they had like this youth tournament there, and they also have like a restaurant in there. So Heidi and I were getting lunch in there, and then the waitress was like, "Hey, John Cooper's over there." Like, she was so psyched that John Cooper was in there watching hockey. So I was just walking by. I wasn't going to stop and bother him, but I just said, "Hey, Coach, very excited to get Ryan McDonough back. This is last offseason." And he just looked at me and was like, "Oh, yeah, really excited." So I got in the car and I called Aaron and was like, "Got an exclusive with Coach Cooper."
Yeah, Coach is excited. That's like, nice, man. I'll talk to you later.
Very excited.
Jake Gensel getting a lot of heat. I don't like it. I don't like the heat
I
he's
don't
been
like
getting. The guy decides not to go to the White House because he wants to rest and be with his family. Doesn't say a word about it. Doesn't say anything political about it. But people make it political, and I feel for him because he was just coming back from winning a gold medal. He talked about, and this is a guy who won the Stanley Cup.
I feel like you can relate to him being, people throwing political stuff at him
for no reason, and it's crazy. And he's won a cup in 2017. He went to the White House. He went to visit President Trump. Was in the White House then. Has nothing to do with that. But now he's won a gold medal.
He played hockey, and then everybody said political stuff, made a political statement about him. You played golf, and everybody made political comments about you.
I know.
You can't even play sports these days without people making it political.
Call me Vahina.
Well, that's fair.
Gold medal or Stanley Cup? Jake Gensel. What say he?
I mean, look, they're both unbelievably special, and it's hard to point one or the other, but when you get to do it for your country, and especially against Canada in that kind of environment and that kind of game, after the women's did it too before, so it was, we went there to go for 2 for 2 with the men and the women's, and we did that, so it's pretty cool for us to do that first time in history.
I can't speak for them, but the grind, we've witnessed it. The grind of winning a Stanley Cup is so hard. It's so grueling. And I know winning the Olympics, winning gold is tough, but the grueling grind that it takes to get to the playoffs, it's why teams repeating it's why what the Panthers have done and what the Lightning have done is so impressive. It's kind of what we're seeing with the Panthers now that we saw with the Lightning at the tail end of their run. Your offseason becomes exponentially shorter when you make these runs, and you are exhausted, and you never fully get to recover now. It takes years, as we're seeing now.
And I know guys are patriotic regardless of where they're from. People love to represent most people love to represent their country, right? But at the same time, it's hard to build the brotherhood, right, in a few weeks that you build over the course of an 82-game season, and then that playoff run and how physical it becomes.
Right.
Like, it's just so different.
And I know a lot of them,
the pursuit of a Stanley Cup versus a gold medal, that I just think it's totally different.
And a lot of them have played, like the Hughes and Kachucks. They've known each other since they were kids, but it is different, like you said, playing with each other all those times. So, hey, Pat, you ready for yesterday we didn't get into this too much. We talked about Derek Gilmore. We talked about Mike Evans' agent. But we didn't get into the comments about the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to go back. Heard Nick Wise talking about it. Heard T. Krez talking about it. Derek Gilmore, Mike Evans' agent, talked about the receiving room. Was he kind of pointing us in the direction of, hey, don't worry, things are going to be okay if Mike leaves? We'll let you hear his comments and make that decision next on the Pat and Aaron Show.
Don't be one of those people who waits until hurricane season to start thinking about your windows. No, you want to